more you make those small changes compound over time. Habits compound, your money compounds, the time you put into something, whether it's a side project or whatever, compounds. The time you put into learning a particular skill set, investing or whatever, compounds. All these things compound. I think it's the mindset of, I'm going to make small changes. Yeah, I think that's the key thing.
This episode is sponsored by Saxo Markets. Welcome to the Investing Insiders podcast, where we help you to achieve financial well-being by making smarter money decisions. I'm Brianne, and in this episode, we'll be unpacking how you can banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. Joining us today are financial coaches Ken and Mary Okoroafor. Ken and Mary founded the personal finance platform The Humble Penny and are best-selling authors of the book Financial Joy, which has also won 2 awards at the Investing Insiders Book Awards. Ken and Mary, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brianne.
Hi, thank you for having us.
It's genuinely an honor to have you both on the podcast. First of all, just wanted to give a huge congratulations for winning not 1, but 2 of the Investing Insiders Book Awards. Picking up Best Book for Budgeting, Best Book for Investing. It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, no, we were really, really happy to see that happen.
So honoured. It was a nice surprise. It was actually a lovely way to hit 2025.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Yeah.
That's genuinely amazing to hear. The book received so much praise from our judges. One judge said, "This book is a clear winner to me. It is original, engaging, informative, practical, and genuinely actionable. One of the best personal finance books ever written. The practical advice it offers can help anyone who wants to budget better and stop worrying about money and start enjoying life." Another judge said, "Financial Joy is a transformational gem that invites you on a journey to building wealth, whatever stage you're at in life. It breaks down core investment principles, weaving in a holistic perspective about finance and the psychology behind your money story. Ken and Mary offer simple yet effective tips that empower you to take action today." I've got a copy of the book with me, lots of annotations. It's got such a beautiful cover, very warming, very inviting. One thing it will be great to kind of dig into is, during writing the book, were there any new strategies or tips or anything that came up that kind of, were new to you and that you learned along the way?
So the book, writing this book was very difficult, actually, because it required a ton of research and nothing in it could be wrong. You had to really get all your I's dotted, your T's crossed. And we also wanted to share things that were not always in other books. So for example, one of the things, I can think of 2 things actually that were really jumped out to me based on your question. The first is, the order in which you invest your money. By that, I mean, which accounts you prioritize driven by your goals. So for example, if you plan to retire before the age of 55, the accounts you should be prioritizing will be different. If you are self-employed, it might be different. If you are somebody who is a higher rate taxpayer and you have your employer also matching your pension contributions, the account you prioritize first might be different, and so on. So that's one thing that I think I've not seen in any money book that we made sure we actually covered. But the other is actually, when you look at retirement, what's called a sequence of return risk, which is essentially the risk that one faces, that the investment returns they get in the first decade of when they start to withdraw money from their portfolio. The investment returns they get can potentially affect whether they are going to not run out of money, or if they're actually going to run out of money over time. And we cover that in week 9, which is a very thorough chapter on planning for financial joy in the retirement years. And that for me was actually I'd say it's almost like a new tactic or new knowledge, as it were, in that we had to go a lot deeper, read lots of research papers, read lots of stuff around the financial planning industry, a lot of the work that's been done already by incredible people, speak to certain specialists in this area, look at self withdrawal rates, the way in which people pull money out of their investment portfolios, what percentages are ideal for somebody in the UK, what percentage are ideal for somebody in the US, and so on. So a lot of that is stuff we knew, but going deeper was like a lot of it was also like a learning experience, because as you start to speak to certain specialists and certain individuals, they were giving us a lot of the deeper knowledge in these areas, because they are specialists in these areas and deal with people in these areas day by day by day. So I'd say that was definitely, the week 9 in the book on retirement, particularly around withdrawal strategy from your investment portfolio, your retirement pot, is definitely an area that I'd say we also learned a lot from whilst writing the book.
Yeah, and just to add, also the boring admin work, which we maybe started and not fully completed. So that's getting your wills in place, estate planning, putting our wills in trust, things like that, which, we have to make sure that we're practicing what we preach here. We have to complete all these things. So, yeah.
It does sound like such a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, you've laid it out so simply, and I think that probably speaks to expertise, the fact that you can break something that can be quite complex and get people very confused. When it comes to finances, it's quite easy to bury your head in the sand because there's so much to try and do. I've definitely been in that situation myself, where it's like, I should really maybe consolidate my pensions, but then, you have to take the first step. Find out where they are. Are there any missing? Yeah. So I think, you've narrowed it down into such a great set of tips. Are there any lessons that you put into the book that kind of stand out to you as favorites, or things that, you think this is something that everybody needs to know and needs to do? Obviously, they should do the whole book, but if you had to pick one.
So week 8 in the book was all about maximizing your income. So lots of people want to figure out ways in which they are going to make more money and that sort of thing. So for me, this is actually a really standout section of the book, because, what we tried to prove in this section was that really and truly what it takes to actually grow your income comes down to creativity, imagination, optimism, and communication. We kind of call them these 4 ingredients that were necessary. And then kind of breaking that down into then, well, how do you then take that idea holistically and turning that into ways of making money and expanding your possibilities. So this for me was actually a really fun part of the book. But another part of the book that I think is absolutely instrumental is the investing week, which is week 7 in the book. Mm-hmm. I think it's by itself is actually a book by its own, just this week of the book, because it's very, very thorough. It goes into a lot of detail, but it does it in a way that's without the jargon. And the way we've written it is as though we are having a conversation with you and walking you through as though you're literally beginning that journey, but you have a lot of overwhelm, your life is busy, you have so much going on, but we want you to really understand everything and take action from doing it. So those immediately jump out to me as areas.
I think for me also the investing chapter was a great, exciting one for me. But also the very beginning, where we just talk about your relationship with money. We spoke about that earlier, but a lot of the feedback that we got from people was that they did it with their partners or with their friends. And, it really brought up a lot of questions, and they said it was like a therapy session for them doing these activities, because each chapter, it ends with some action steps. It's a workbook. So people, as they read it, they practically have to do their homework in each chapter. So for me, just hearing the feedback from people, how it brought them so much clarity, it was transformative for them. I think that's been amazing.
And I'll just add real quick, we had about 12 global interviews in there. And those personal interviews really brought something new to the book, in that they were all very diverse, so from people from different backgrounds, different age groups, different ethnicities, single people, couples, people with children, people without children, and people from different parts of the world. So for me, those interviews were very, very helpful for bringing the ideas to life, almost like an ignition of the ideas. So you went like, wow, I feel like I could relate to this person's story, or I feel like I could relate to this person who's in their 60s and feeling like they're behind, or, this person who's kind of starting off in their 30s and feeling like actually cost of living is so high for me, and I can't seem to find a way. So having the variety of stories in there, I think really, really is a standout aspect of the book as well.
It definitely helps to normalize conversations around money, I think. And like you said, just make people feel less alone, regardless of whichever stage they're at. I think sometimes you can get into the habit of maybe feeling that you're maybe too far behind, or that, it's too late to take action. But the case studies do a great job of just showing actually there are different places that everybody starts, and it's about taking that first step. When it kind of comes to those big life changes and developments, particularly when it comes to starting a family, you're both parents at the moment, were there any additional accommodations you had to make to your financial plan, or was that kind of built in from the beginning?
So when we were starting out as parents, one thing was clear, we wanted to, we knew we had to pay for things like education potentially, and childcare, and anything to do, and obviously thinking about our children from a investment perspective, so junior ISAs and that sort of thing. So certain changes we had to make was really preparing for this reality, which is once upon a time there's two of us, but now like, oh my god, there's Mary's pregnant, there's a baby coming. So preparing for that was a really big deal, and for me it kind of almost I kind of just went into my I guess a big part of my strength now as an individual is thinking about the future. So, where could we be? Like, you're pregnant today, like, but we know in 5 years you're going to be in reception. Okay, what do we need to start to do? And, a lot of people don't like to think of stuff like that. Whereas the way I feel I'm wired as an individual is I like to think like that. I like to be positive about the future. I like to believe we're going to arrive at the future rather than bury my head in the sand and go, I don't want to know, it's too uncertain. I like to just go, actually, we're coming. One day, God willing, I'm going to be 60 years old. Wow, I wonder what I want to look like when I'm 60. That kind of stuff actually excites me. Same thing with the parenting. We just had to begin to gradually think like that. One day, we're going to have this child. What do we need to do about it? What should we start to put away gradually? So we started with small amounts of money. But because our finances were already at a place where we were starting to put certain small systems in place, and we were building certain habits and so on. Because we're able to do that, we're able to then apply the same thinking towards becoming parents.
Yeah, and just thinking back to when we were 3 months pregnant, we had already decided like where we were going to live next to good catchment schools for secondary. So we'd already had our kind of eyes set on certain grammar schools that we wanted our children to do, and that dictated where we'd live. But also we don't know what the future is going to hold in terms of whether our children are going to go to university or not. But we already have a pot that we're putting money aside for the eventuality that if they do go to uni, they can use that pot to fund their education.
I think key to this is small changes, because oftentimes the thing is these big decisions require big leaps and big changes in your life. When in actual fact, the more you think, well, actually, I've got this major thing coming down potentially in my life in the future, but I'm going to start today to make small little changes. The more you make those small changes compound over time. Habits compound, your money compounds, the time you put into something, whether it's a side project or whatever, compounds. The time you put into learning a particular skill set, investing or whatever, compounds. All these things compound. I think it's the mindset of, I'm going to make small changes. Yeah, I think that's the key thing. And for us, that certainly played a role, because look at us today, like our kids, one's going to be a teenager, in a few months, he'll be 13. Once upon a time, he was just 3 months old. But that time has gone by so quickly. His voice now sounds like an adult. Sometimes when he speaks, you might think it's me speaking. Things happen so quickly. And 13 years has just gone by just like that. In the same way, another 13 years will go by. So the question is how do we want to be preparing for that? What small changes do we need to begin to make today to prepare for that? I think I think that's the mindset that we had then and we still try to cultivate today.
This episode of the Investing Insiders podcast is sponsored by Saxo Markets. Saxo provides access to a broad range of global assets through a sophisticated trading platform. You can trade US stocks from as little as $1 per trade and UK stocks from $3 per trade. Please remember that all investing involves risk. The value of your investments can go down as well as up, and you could get back less than you invest. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Saxo Markets to learn more. And it definitely makes the process a lot less intimidating, I think, just knowing that it's about those small steps rather than needing to have a big overnight, change that's going to revolutionize everything. With your children, how have you engaged them, if at all, with finances? I know you mentioned that you've got junior ISAs for them. Is this a conversation that you kind of have with them regularly? What's the conversations like around money?
It varies. And we try to do it every day. So by that, I mean, imagine I was, I'll give you an example of an ad yesterday, right? As we were driving home from school, I was doing school run, and I went to pick up one of our youngest son, and there was an ad on the radio. It was about playing the lottery, and there's a tagline that went, "It could be you," right? Mm-hmm. They've got this ad where it's like, okay, we're trying to get everyone to play the lottery, and we're just trying to discuss what are the odds of winning the lottery. What are the odds that someone would win that lottery, and do we think it's a good use of someone's money every single week, right? So for me, that's a good example of trying to engage with your child around money. Using everyday examples. It might be something you heard on the radio. It might be somebody buying fish and chips whilst you're at the traffic light. It could be the grocery shop. It could be, hey, look, we're about to, you got X amount of money over Christmas, and we're about to, you've used some of it, to buy various things, but we're now going to put half of it into your junior ISA. Why don't we come and sit down and let's try and make that investment here. Here's the mouse. Let's now go through that journey of gradually buying something that, you understand, because we're going to talk about it, and actually making it happen. So our approach is actually keeping it simple, keep it, practical, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, and that point you made, we co-invest with them, so they sit down and they see the investments, they see it going up and down, but we teach them that over the term your investments will go up. And the reason why it's important for them to see their investments, because like you said, we encourage them to invest 50%. They can spend 40%, and then they can give 10% to whatever charity or cause, so they're more closer to the numbers. And it incentivizes them to want to invest, maybe overspending it on, a Lego model or on digital currency for their gaming, games that they really love, and can really, it just teaches them how to value money, to understand the value of money. But also certain things, like when they're given birthday money, they have a budget for whatever it is they want to buy. And so they know that if they wanted, again, I use the example of Lego, because you can get a Lego model from ranging from £5 to 5,000. They're ridiculously expensive. So if they wanted something, they know that they're not going to spend like X amount because it's over their budget. So they know how to spend within their budget. So I guess when they get older and they start to earn, a budget isn't going to be something that's foreign. It's something that they've been used to from a very young age.
And also, I'll give you another example. It's also teaching them this idea of delayed gratification. So recently, our son wanted this editing pack. He wanted us to buy him this editing pack, and it's $15, right? And we were like, yeah, we have the money, but you're going to have to go and read a book. So we gave him a specific book. It was a financial literacy book. You're going to have to read this book and then come back and pitch the book back to us. Tell us, what was the book about? What were the chapters that stood out? What did you learn from the book? And then write about it. You're going to write in this template what stood out to you. And then once you've done that and we're clear that you've learned the book, because we can see you reading it around the house over the next 1 week, then we will buy the editing pack for you for $15, right? So with that, he's not only learning, but he's also linking. There's a link between effort and reward, right? Because a lot of children just think like money is just like comes out of like the cash machine, or like it just comes out of like this, this card that you keep tapping everywhere. But they don't realize that there's a value exchange that actually happens. Mommy and daddy didn't just earn that money. That money came because they made good stewardship decisions about their money. They invested their money. Their money's earned some dividends. It's growing because they've put that money into businesses, which is what happens when you invest in the stock market. So explaining and going through this process gives us a teachable moment, really, to kind of explain the full journey of how money is made, how mommy and daddy were able to make this money, how it had to grow, and how that growth is now funding the thing that you want. And by the way, to get the thing you want, you had to read a book, which meant you had to add value in order to get the editing pack. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's just this daily dialogue, right? There isn't a day we're not talking about something. It could be that we're watching, a show, like a show we've been watching lately, Mr. Beast, right? It's got this show, right? Beast Games, right? And we watch it, people are winning money, we're talking about the psychology, would you do this in this scenario? Would you do that in that scenario? What's ethical? What's not ethical, right? So all these elements mean that we're helping them shape, basically effectively rewire their brains, right? So that they start to understand as they get older that actually, right, I should be controlling money, not money controlling me.
Yeah.
Right? That's a fundamental key difference in when you look at people who have good outcomes with money and those who don't have good outcomes is, are they in control of money, or is money in control of them, right? And that really is a really good example of that parent-child dynamic.
Yeah, we teach them to be producers, not just consumers. And if they are consuming, we ask them, what's the business model behind what you're consuming? Can you see there's a business behind this? You're exchanging money for a service. So how can you create value? And we teach them that they are absolutely capable of creating value. So those books that we tell them to read are not just financial literacy books. Some of them are personal development books. Others are creativity books, and others are books of their choice. But the important thing is to get them to read.
Yeah.
And just think about how they can be people of value.
It's funny because the one point I want to make real quick is that editing back we bought for our son, because we paid for it. We paid for using PayPal. And I said to him, this person's just made passive income. They've just made $15 of passive income. And so I said to him, well, how can you now apply what you're learning from this editing pack, editing, all these creative videos? How can you yourself make passive income, right? So again, this is shifting his way of thinking from I need to always swap my time for money to I could create something once and somebody from somewhere, just like you, like him, could just buy it anywhere on the internet and make some money, right? So again, this was a nice little teachable moment. So that one event of us not giving him the money directly and letting him do the work gave us so much more opportunity to, impart certain bits of knowledge and so on, for him to move forward with.
Those practical examples really are invaluable. And I think putting your son in that situation where he can actually see, okay, this is the value exchange that's happening. These are opportunities that maybe I can take from this. But then also just getting that idea that instant gratification isn't necessarily the thing that should be leading your financial habits. It's so easy nowadays, with everything being quite simple. You just tap your phone, card, whatever, make a payment. That value exchange, it's difficult to cement that in your head. Like when you pay with cash, you kind of get coins back. You can actually see what's going on. But with everything being so digital, it is difficult to get that sometimes. So that's a really, really powerful example of how you can try and introduce that and just, add that layer of there is some kind of value from the things that you buy and whenever you put money to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually known as financial abstraction, this idea that the way we used to look at our finances has become a lot more digitized and there's a lot less friction, right? Friction can be a good thing, as well as can be a bad thing. But when it comes to money, you notice that everything's made so easy. There's one-click purchases. If you want to buy something and spread it, there's buy now and pay later. Just click this button and it will quickly spread it over X number of months. So a lot of that sort of stuff It's out there. And I think this is actually what motivated our second book, The Wealth Habit, because a big part of the journey, as you said, there is this: a lot of people don't know how to practically put these things in place. Like, what are the small tools? What are the frameworks I could use to actually begin to bring this to life? In the new book, The Wealth Habit, we talk about this idea, a very simple one. It's a 24-hour pause button. When you come across something you might want to buy, or whatever, even the idea of introducing a bit of friction, putting in place a self-imposed 24-hour pause on something, makes you actually go away and think, well, actually, would my future self thank me for this purchase? Is this purchase well aligned with the future I'm heading into, and so on?
Do I need it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an important question to ask, especially when you get a notification that's like, flash sale, you got to buy it now. Trying to actually put that stop in place and say, do you really need this? If it wasn't on sale, would you buy it? Just having those conversations, I think, really, really helps. One of the things that has been great about your journey is the fact that you both founded The Humble Penny, which is a personal finance platform, dedicated to helping people with their money. How did you kind of come together and decide this was a next step for you? And what kind of financial considerations did you have to make when it came to stepping out of, employment and into becoming entrepreneurs?
So The Humble Penny at thehumblepenny.com began as a side project. It was a passion project. We had day jobs. I was working as a chief financial officer for a venture capital business, and Mary was running as a manager for one of a nursery branch that we had as a family. And so we had jobs. We were, working full time. And The Humble Penny began as a passion project because we were noticing that a lot of what we were seeing out there from a financial literacy perspective, firstly, there wasn't a lot of it was very American, and a lot of what we then saw wasn't really speaking to a lot of people with our background, our lived experiences, our stories. We weren't seeing stuff speaking to us directly, even as parents, raising children, even with us with an immigrant background. Like, we were just seeing stuff that was very, just like we were not just feeling what was out there as much as we would have liked. So we wanted to start to tell our own story. Like, what are some of the challenges we were navigating? What are the things that people are not talking about, right? So The Humble Penny became that place where we're like, even if you're starting from small beginnings, how could you create a life for yourself? That's what The Humble Penny, the idea behind it was. You might be beginning somewhere because you've emigrated and things are really hard, or that you've had a major life setback, or you didn't have a rich dad, or like all these things, right? Or you've got the black tax. You're having to send money back home all the time to your loved ones, but nobody else is talking about this because nobody else is having these sort of life experiences, because it's such a cultural thing. So we wanted to talk about unusual things but relatable things, and so that's where the idea of Humble Penny actually began. We were writing, creating blog posts, and so on. But bear in mind, we were doing this as a passion project whilst working full time. And then over time, as things started picking up, we were like, actually, this could become, a recognized, platform, a recognized brand that's having impact and helping people move forward with their finances. And more, Mary and I started showing up together. We started creating videos and so on. And yeah, we've just carried on, really. We see it as a calling. We see what we're doing as a calling. And we love it, because it's helping people, it's helping change lives, it's changing financial destinies. And it's helped millions of people change their relationship with money. So, it's just been very rewarding, I would say, doing this and doing it together as well.
Absolutely. And, like you said, whilst we were on our journey, we did get many people asking for coaching, mentoring, and we thought we could just put it all in one place, one platform where many people can access and go on our journey of things that we've learned, our lived experience. So offering a space that was honest, practical, and encouraging, where people can just learn without any judgment and, take the real steps forward. That was the motivation behind it. But also then we started a sister brand, Financial Joy Academy. People still wanted close proximity to Ken and Mary, and we thought, how can we do that without experiencing burnout? So we created this platform, Financial Joy Academy, as a membership, and this was in February 2020.
Just before
COVID. So we were now faced in a situation where we had this academy where, you know, we had a responsibility to show up, but we also had our jobs, and we also had to do homeschooling, 2 children, and it was just all too much.
Mm-hmm.
We'd obviously had our finances in a way that we'd paid off our mortgage already, and we had a buffer, we had investments.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer to say, look, we need to do this full time. We can't be doing all of this homeschooling, this job, that, and the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. It just became a bit too much. It was a no-brainer for us to just step away from Ken's full-time job and me running the nursery business.
But it was hard. It wasn't easy. It wasn't just like that, we're stepping away from, you know, all the perks. You know, a good income, pension contributions, you know, free fruit in the office. You know, you're stepping away from all the freebies, you know, like all the stuff you get, you know, office interactions and, you know, all those things. The title you have, you know, that sense of I have an identity, because on LinkedIn, everyone's all about their titles, right? You're stepping away from all these things, and you're now throwing yourself into something that you believe in, but for which most other people don't yet believe in. There's a glimpse that this thing is taking off, but you believe in it more than anybody else, right? So that is that was a very difficult thing. We had anxiety around that. You know, I had anxiety.
I mean, I didn't have any
anxiety. I definitely had anxiety. I definitely had anxiety, you know, and also it was like a bit of a crisis as well, because it's like, I've spent 15 years building my career up. You know, I've gone from a trainee accountant, I've become management accountant, finance director, chief financial officer across all these very reputable companies. You know, I've got up to near the top of the tree, and then suddenly I'm like, actually, I'm going to do this startup thing. That's a little side project that I'm just about calling a business. You know,
so it's true, because when people ask you, like, what do you do? Are you a blogger? Are
you a YouTuber? We don't really know. It's like, okay, we're just figuring this thing out. This is how it felt. This is how it really felt. And plus, there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You know, so
that created something.
You know, there was also COVID, and you know, people being let go left, right, and center. You know, we couldn't get furloughed because we just couldn't. And then we had our children to raise at home. It was just like a, you know, I don't know, like
melting pot.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like everything was colliding. That's the right word.
Yeah.
It was a collision of emotions and stress and anxiety and, you know, I don't know, you know, uncertainty. Yeah, all these things.
It really does sound like a whirlwind. I mean, an incredible story, because to have so many changes at once and being able to navigate all of that while holding the vision, it takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage. I guess throughout your journey and together, where have you kind of come up and faced challenges like that? And what kind of techniques and tactics did you use within those moments where it was like, is this actually too much? Is it time to change our minds? Should we go back to something else? What helped you hold to the vision and keep going?
I'd say people have been key. So firstly, each other have been key for, you know, holding each other down and kind of like, yeah, we can do this. And then other people who have this growth mindset, who are like, yeah, like I'll give you an example. When I and this is quite hard to say, like when I left my career and I was like, yeah, that's it, bye. My family was celebrating. You know, you think like a Nigerian family, they go, what? You're leaving your safe job? How can you be doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. Get back into your cubicle right now. No, they were like, yes, amazing. You can do it. Let's go. It's about time, right? So having those people there is so critical, right? And also having almost like a small, you know, handful of people who are doing what you're doing, who you are sharing notes with, you're sharing ideas with, you're sharing your struggles with. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. In fact, I think our families were probably thinking, what took you so long?
Mm.
But I think for me as well, it was definitely our faith. We're both people of faith, and prayer is an important thing for us. It just grounds us, has us centered, but also we see what we do as a calling. And a lot of what we've been doing, we've been getting a lot of favor, a lot of opportunities that we really just thank God for. So we see it as, this is more than us, it's an opportunity that we've been given, and we want to serve in the best way we can. So having that faith in God and praying whenever we felt maybe anxious has definitely helped.
Yeah.
That genuinely is so inspiring, and it's kind of great to hear how you've been able to keep that vision and keep it going, especially when times have been quite trying. I think one of the things when somebody decides that they want to make a change with their finances, what they might find is they might be the only one, whether that's in their family or if they're going through something alone. There is that sense of, okay, well, how do I keep myself accountable? Do I need to go out and find a community? What would your advice be for people in that situation?
Literally, and this is self-promo, but I'm going to say it. I'd say if you can, join Financial Joy Academy, which is one of our communities. And we created it because it's a space where people can meet other people with a similar mindset. Because you think about it, the culture in this country and beyond is one of crabs in a bucket, or this tall poppy syndrome. Like, people don't like people who are trying to become successful or who sound like they're trying to make it or whatever. So the thing is, you need to find your community, you need to find your space, you need to find a place where we call them our dream makers, where people are making dreams actually happen, right? So, and that could be anywhere. That could be you creating a mastermind group, of which, we've belonged to different ones over time. That could be you joining a membership community, and so on. But the key thing is to find people, and it could be a small group, it could be a bigger group, could be, a more dynamic group, could be an online group, could be offline group. But the key is that the success that you want is connected to other people. This is like a fundamental thing. Think about it. If it were the stock market, without other people, your stocks will not go up in value, because those other people are working in the companies, whether it's Amazon, Google, Meta. Like, they've got thousands of employees, right? Without those employees working, without them showing up to their 9-to-5 jobs, your investments would not appreciate in value. So everything we do, every bit of success is connected to other people, right? And so I've always seen that as, like, if in doubt, find the right people, find the right community, find the right spaces, because that's just key to helping you kind of get to your outcome a bit more without making as many mistakes, basically.
Yeah. And I think, just to add to what you said, community really normalizes your journey, because when you realize that you're not the only one, that there's actually other people like you that's navigating the same challenges, the same dreams and aspirations, it removes the shame, the doubt, and it keeps you accountable. So progress is just so much faster when you're not doing it alone. And even if you don't have a business partner, you can have an accountability partner that can help you as well. And talking back to our, platform, Financial Joy Academy, when we get feedback from all of our dream makers, they constantly say how much seeing other dream makers and hearing their stories has really helped change their mindset, help them to dream bigger, help them to be bold, and realize that actually all these people, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
They're just like me. Yeah.
They're just like me. Yeah. They mention Ken and Mary, obviously, but they also mention a lot about the other dream makers that have helped them a lot. So,
and because the other thing as well is mindset doesn't change overnight.
Yeah.
Mindset is a very gradual thing. It's very gradual. And so you need to not just have motivation, you need a gradual shift in mindset. Then you need a gradual shift in habits. And then you need a system around that for everything to then begin to escalate. And again, this is all connected to people, because you don't know what you don't know. So you learn from other people in order for things to happen.
Definitely. And like you say, it is really important to have that sense of other people on that same track. And it has to be invaluable to kind of see the ways other people are kind of moving, and if they've elevated their situation into something that you'd also like to see, it shows you that it is possible and it's not just a far off dream. Ken and Mary, you have had such an incredible journey in life, through finances, through helping people. With everything that you know today, what's one financial lesson that you wish you'd known earlier in life and could kind of just let everybody else know?
One thing I wish I'd known earlier in life is that I don't need anyone's permission to make my own income. It's been wired into us growing up that you must get this degree, you must get this certificate or this thing as a way for you to then get someone's permission through a contract, an employment contract, for you to then potentially make money if you behave yourself, right? Whereas I've learned over time, well, actually, that's somebody else's idea, right? You don't need, don't get me wrong, those pathways are all valid and are all good, but you don't need anyone's permission, right? And you don't need anyone's permission to design the life that you want. You don't have to pay your mortgage off over 25 years or 35 years. You can decide to do it in 10 years or 15 years or 7 years if you choose to. Just living more fearlessly is a big thing I wish I knew, much earlier in my life. This idea that I'm an individual, I have a voice, I can make decisions that, that can change the future. The things I decide today shift the future. Tomorrow is like empty land. Nobody has monopoly over tomorrow. I, through today, through what I decide to do, through the choices I decide to make, can completely shift how tomorrow shows up. That for me, if I had that insight when I was in my teens or in my early 20s, wow, would be in a vastly different place, because my approach to life would be so different. I'd believe in myself so much more. I'd know that I have agency. I'd know that I actually have power as an individual. The things I do, the words I use can create things, can build things, can shift things. This is why we talk about mindset first. For me, it's that grounding from a mindset perspective.
Yeah, love that. I think for me as well is that I've learned you don't need to earn more to feel better about money or to make certain financial decisions that can change your financial life regardless of where you're starting from. So, that might look like you can start investing, start small, small but consistent over time. Gradually, that amount will compound. As long as you start early, be consistent, your money will compound over time. So, because, the line of work we do, we speak to a lot of people who earn a lot of money, whether it's over 200K, and people who make 60K. And you'd be surprised to see that the people who are earning over 200K in their salary, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And that's because, they're constantly, it's whether it's lifestyle creep or keeping up with the Joneses, or they don't have systems in place. That means that they're making their money work on money, even if they're sleeping. Whereas you've got people who don't earn as much, but they've put systems in place, that means that they're actually investing more, they're seeing a return on their investment, and they've got a higher savings rate. Yeah.
That's really invaluable advice, and just goes to show once you get those foundational steps in place and take that consistent action, you really can kind of make huge changes in the long term. It would be great to find out what is next for you both. Obviously, you've had some tremendous achievements, and The Wealth Habit is due to come out soon.
Available everywhere people buy books, Amazon, Waterstones, and, globally. We're very excited. It's been translated already into 2 languages. One is Italian, one is the Taiwanese. Is it Taiwanese or Mandarin? Anyway, one of those. And we're expecting more translations. So we're very, very excited. So the next for us is really launching The Wealth Habit and getting it into the hands of, everyone where possible. And just enjoying the journey, because for us, a lot of what we do, we didn't really know a lot of these outcomes would happen. Didn't know we'd become authors, didn't know I think for me, it's just having fun and seeing impact happen, doing things that we think matter, because time is so precious. So you really want to spend your time doing what matters and not wasting it doing stuff that really, your future self wouldn't thank you for. So it's about what matters here, what impact is this having, how is this stuff actually helping people, building out our platform. So we mentioned Financial Joy Academy earlier. I would love to see Financial Joy Academy being used by corporates. We'd love to see it in organizations, helping people with their financial well-being and, that sort of thing in the future. So yeah, those are some ideas.
Yeah, and with Financial Joy Academy, we'd love to create an app eventually. A lot of people use their phones. They consume a lot of content on their phone. So why not do something that's going to help you financially on your phone? So yeah, an app coming soon.
That's super exciting and genuinely can't wait to see everything that you guys have coming up. It's been incredible speaking to you both. Thank you so much for joining this episode. Just for our listeners to kind of, figure out where they can join you next, where can they find you?
So thank you. You can find us on our website, first of all, at www.thehumblepenny.com. So over there, you can find, all our various resources, lots of free stuff and other resources available. But you can also find us at The Humble Penny on social media. So our YouTube channel, on Instagram, as well as on LinkedIn. If you search Ken Okoroafor and Mary Okoroafor, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can also check out our platform over at financialjoyacademy.com.
Lovely. We'll make sure all of that is linked in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining our Investing Insiders podcast. If you like the episode, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on your platform of choice. For the latest money news and deals, you can sign up to our weekly newsletter at investinginsiders.co.uk/newsletter-page. We've also got a suite of guides, tools, and calculators on our website at investinginsiders.co.uk. You can also keep up to date with us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.